Good morning. This is Scott Frazier, and this is a keynote presentation from the 2012 WIPI convention that was in Wisconsin Dells. And this is Dr. Robert Pangrazi, one of the top leaders in fitness, in the fitness movement in the United States. He's been involved with all the FitnessGram projects, with measuring data in the last probably 30 years in the field. He's probably right up there with people like Judy Rink, Jackie Lund, and I would probably say George Graham from PE Central. Probably one of the top professionals we have, and that's why he's in such great demand. We were very fortunate to have him come to WIPI 2 years ago for this keynote. One of the things I wanted to ask you to talk about is, or I want you to look at for Monday, is this whole part about fitness testing and parts of FitnessGram. And that's what we're going to be going into on Monday. As you see here, he's sponsored by Gopher, Active and Healthy Schools Programs, and that's, of course, they're an equipment company that you will see at all our conventions. But he talks about, have we improved over time as far as our NASB standards? Now, here are the 6 traditional standards we have. Of course, now we have the 5 new ones as of 2014. But look at this. The first 2 is competency, and then knowledge, understanding. Then physical activity, physical fitness, no evidence at all. We have no evidence responsible behavior or from personal values, according to Pangrazi. Have we improved? He would probably say no. And that's kind of the thrust, is what he's saying here is, for 50, 60 years, ever since 1960, 1950, when we started the President's Challenge, we've been trying to emphasize physical fitness in the United States, and no matter what we've done, obesity continues to increase, as we know. I mean, this is obvious, and in today's kids are the first generation that may be affected and have shorter lifespans than their parents. So why do we evaluate fitness, and why has it become the gold standard? Because it's one of the few standardized tests. Many believe that fitness will solve the obesity crisis, and it's probably the easiest thing to test. In the old days, the mile run, the number of sit-ups, push-ups, very easy to measure those types of things. It's very objective data, but then what does it show? What does it indicate? And can it be changed? Can it be improved over time? And that's what I'd like you to think about as you look through these. It's not a PowerPoint, I'm sorry, it's an Adobe. But we've been doing fitness testing going all the way back to almost when I was born, 1958, 65. I mean, we've sampled the entire U.S., and it's been conducted by the President's Council, and we've used it to evaluate all the youth in the country. And guess what? Of course, this is at, we'll go on past this because I don't really like this slide because it's only the top athlete that has to do that. Less than 0.1% earned this award in 1985. So this is why FitnessGram is more important to me than the President's Challenge Award. And so let's move on. These are some reasons why fitness has failed in the U.S. and also in our kids, because they show little physiological response to training. Very famous study by Greg Payne and Jim Morrow have studied this. Sometimes some kids do not show any response to physical training. The other part that's been known for years by exercise physiologists is it's strongly influenced by genetics. Fitness is strongly influenced, especially, fast twitch, slow twitch, those kind of things. Strongly influenced by family genes and genetics and so forth. So given that, fitness is a product that many can't reach no matter how hard they try because of genetics. And we fail to take that into consideration. And also, most improvement is a result of growth and maturation. The other part that's interesting, about 20% of subjects show less than 5% improvement. And so we haven't been doing, we we're trying to measure fitness, but we really can't develop it very much. And that's kind of disappointing. Now again, the other one that's out there is skill development. Skill is genetically controlled. It favors gifted athletes. Very few reliable skill tests are out there, just so you know. And that's one of the problems with traditional skill tests. It also takes time away. It's time consuming and very difficult to do well. And so again, There's no set standards of skills. Teachers design their own rubrics, and it also is difficult to turn less gifted kids into skilled performers. Here's a beautiful line. Art and music teachers don't make artists or great musicians out of every child. You can tell by looking at how I even try to write something on the board. I was terrible at art. I can barely draw a straight line, if at all that. Trying for me to try to draw a picture in perspective, can't do it. I was terrible in art. In other things I'm not bad, but art was terrible and there's nothing I can do. So the other next thing is, what are some authentic outcomes? Because we tend to be focusing on maybe high skill, and does the program teach activities that can be used without the lifespan? So moving ahead a couple slides and a couple pages here to page 17, what Pangrazi proposes is a new model where the entire school environment must change, and just more time for PE doesn't solve it. We kind of have to create, and this has been done now, active and healthy schools, and take a different kind of approach to solving the issue of overweight and inactive students. It's got to be done throughout the entire school. It can't just be done in physical education. And so the future physical educator is going to have to do all these things. They're going to be promoting activity. They're going to be teaching nutrition, and we're seeing that, Stevens Point Pep Grant. They have to train the classroom teachers. They basically become personal trainers, environmental change agents within the schools they're at. So these are all things that the physical educator has to do to promote this. And I'm going to move ahead pretty quickly. The next generation of Phi-Ed persons, Phi-Ed teachers I should say, are going to have to promote the activity but also teach nutrition. What are some health promotion programs, and also create an active and healthy school environment for kids, and then try to integrate physical activity into the family setting. In other words, we have to take physical education outside of the classroom, incorporate into the home and the daily lives of our students. That's a little different focus than what we have now. And within active and healthy schools, we should think about the playgrounds. What's on the playgrounds? What's going on as far as the school environment in the classroom? I won't talk about sun safety, but that's another one of Pangrazi's pet peeves. He thinks we need to cover this, and perhaps it is important. And I will tell you from somebody who's had some skin cancer that it does become important to cover this with adolescents and those in high school, because again, by the time you get in my age, you start developing the skin cancers because of going without a shirt and sunscreen when I was young, and so forth. So some of the changes we can make are pretty simple, and again, some of these have been done already. When you think about classroom activity breaks, these are sometimes called brain breaks. Brain gym is part of this. Cross crawls, little different types of movements, those little games we play as far as gotcha. Those are nice little things to create an environment where you can just move in the classroom. And we need to create activity programs for classroom teachers. That's going to be one of the thrusts in the futures. Now again, classroom activities, you have little or no equipment needed. You just need partners, do things like those games that I said. Students can lead the activities and you can stay in the classroom. And it should be done after 50 minutes of academic study because again, students can't stay in seats too long. They should be developmentally appropriate and simple and easy to implement. And of course, playgrounds is a big part, but they need equipment. And also, what are some small group playground games? Rather than just having, do as you please, we need to do a better job of structuring recess. And also, we need to have equipment on the playground. And of course, here's Bob putting in a plug for buy stuff from Gopher. There's all the things you can get from Gopher here from their catalog. So, this also involves nutrition. And of course, this is a big one now. Our students, our young people, do not eat well because they haven't been taught to eat well. There's that sun safety one again. Sunscreen, hats, sunwise, seeking shade and trees out of the direct sun sometimes. And talking about the dangers of things like tanning facilities and, well, again, it leads to health issues. And of course, how do we promote outside of school activities like this for homework and so on? family walks, parent activity programs. All these are ways to promote outside of school modules. Finally, let's go on here and say, okay, what we should be doing, and this is the last two slides. The big thing we should be doing is trying to get people to move. And so if we can just get people to become a little less sedentary and a little more active, this is the equivalent of 30 pounds a year, assuming that somebody's caloric intake, just by doing certain activities like, walking 1 hour, parking and walking. Walking in to pay 1 time a week is 5 calories. Giving a lecture, of course, is twice as burns as many calories as sitting and listening to a lecture. But here are all ways to provide energy expenditure and things that we have to emphasize in our classes. So we'll be talking about fitness and fitness testing, but I thought that was an interesting keynote about we really don't have good evidence that we're promoting physical fitness, and what pangrazi is saying is we should be promoting physical activity. And let me just finish with that slide and go. So in the future, this is going back to slide or page 21, the future physical educator will be promoting school activities, also teaching nutritional concepts, but developing a health promotion program, creating active, healthy schools, and also trying to integrate physical activity into the family setting. Those will be the goals for the future generation of teachers, according to Bob Pangrazi. And so that's his keynote that he gave 2 years ago, and it's really interesting as far as thinking and probing as far as what we're doing wrong and what we should be doing in the future. Thanks. Have a nice weekend.